Hi, I'm going to take my time this week to talk you through what's going to be a little bit more busy week as you're working on Project 3, and I'll ask you to preview Project 4 as well. But I think the busyness will be worth it so that you can take a little break next week over the Thanksgiving holiday. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk you through the feedback process on Project 3 drafts, some things to pay attention to as you preview Project 4, and look at the content on visual rhetoric on Purdue OWL, and then some reminders of what to do next week in week 13, because I will not have instructional materials that week for you, so that how you spend your time next week will be mainly up to you. Okay, one of your first assignments for this week, or one of your major assignments for this week, is to upload your draft of Project 3 to your group for peer response, and then to give response to your peers in your group on their drafts. So just like last time, you're going to go to Tools, and then go down to Groups, and your menu might look different than mine. I might have a lot more stuff on mine than you do. And then go to your group. When you go into the group, you'll see directions, which are very similar to what I had you do last time. When you read through your peers' papers, I'm going to ask you first to just read through the entire draft, and then to write 3 things. 1, a paragraph explaining what you find most persuasive about the essay draft, and then using a specific example in your response. Then a paragraph explaining what you find confusing or problematic about the essay draft, and using a specific example in your response. And that could be about evidence, it could be about organization, it could be about the writing style. Whatever you find significantly problematic or confusing, point that out. And then write a question that you have for the author, or point out to them something that they're missing the assignment description that they need to make sure they do in the project. For example, if they missed in-text citations again, remind them of doing that. If they don't have a clear thesis statement, remind them to articulate that, although for this assignment that should have been one of the first things that you wrote. Then there's other uploading information in here, and your group members' names and stuff like that. My feedback on your drafts this week is going to focus on the organizational aspect of it. So you should, in each other's drafts, look at evidence, look at clarity of sentences, any of those things, whatever stands out to you as significant. My feedback will focus on organization, and I'll be referring to the outlines in Chapter 6 when I give you that feedback. Along with that, once you receive my feedback and peer feedback, your blog for this week is to do what's called a talkback reflection on that feedback, at least on the feedback I give you, if not on your peers' feedback. And I will upload the Yancey article talkbacks for you to read in the weekly folder. And so you'll do some summary about reflection in this blog post, and then you will review your comments, the feedback, and you'll give your own thoughts on that feedback and what you're planning on doing with that. So not only are you getting feedback from me and from a peer, you're also giving feedback, and you're reflecting on that feedback process and thinking very actively about how you're going to put that into your Project 3 revision. I'm also going to ask you to do some thinking ahead about Project 4 this week. The first thing that you should do is simply read the Project 4 assignment, so go into the Project 4 folder and read the discussion of the infographic assignment. Talks about the purposes with that. It's an infographic, and I'll show you an example of one of those in a second, plus a reflection on the choices that you made in that infographic. So you're going to want to read through that text. Down lower in the folder, I also included a link to a Google search for infographic examples. So you can check out like what an infographic actually is. You've probably seen them before, even if you didn't know what they were called. You are going to be making an infographic based on your argument in Project 3. So you'll be thinking about graphics, selecting key ideas, what you're going to put centrally in the infographic, layout, what you want to highlight, all of that kind of stuff. To help you get into that, you also have a reading to do, and you're going to visit the Purdue Online Writing Lab again and look at their visual rhetoric page. I have a link to this in the week 12 activities list. There's a little bit of content on this page explaining what visual rhetoric is and talking about some of the main components. But that's not the end of your reading. You're also going to take a look at these slide presentations. So one on visual rhetoric, one on color theory, fonts, and actually, although I say to use all of them, I think that it makes sense that you look at these first three. So I'll revise that in the directions for this week. Visual rhetoric, color theory, and using fonts with a purpose are the three that I'm going to ask you to look at this week. So click on those, view through that material. And this website, the content on here in those first three slides will be what your quiz is based on. You'll take that quiz by Sunday night. So make sure you start to look through that material, and as you're piecing together your work on Project 3 and starting to think through revisions, you could also be imagining what you want that to look like when you present it visually to your audience. We will post these on Blackboard so that you can check out what each other are working on, but we'll also talk about ways that you can present those to other audiences. You will get a chance to, if you'd like to come see the student writing showcase that other English 1020 classes are putting on December 10th. You'll be able to, not December 10th, December 3rd, you can come and check out other students' infographics as well. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, next week, week 13, I won't be giving you any instructional materials. You don't have any assignments due that week. It's the Thanksgiving holiday, and I think that with working through your revisions on Project 3 and starting to think about Project 4, you have plenty to do for this class, so you don't need any more. But that you can feel free to ask me questions during that week. Come see me in office hours on Tuesday from 3 to 4 if you want a little bit more time to talk about Project 3. So good luck this week. I hope everything is going well in your other classes, and keep the questions and everything coming. I will talk to you soon.